And a happy Friday to everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. It's been a while, but we got another episode of You Gotta Be Sha Tin Me coming up here. I am joined, as always, by the second best Hong Kong handicapper in the On the Wrong Lead crew, Mr. Matt Carlson. Matt, how you doing, my friend?
Doing okay. You know, a little bit sad that this is the last meet for the summer. It's going to be a long summer of me saying I'm not going to play Saratoga and then playing every Saratoga race probably. So, but yeah, no, I mean it doesn't feel like it's been 10 months of betting on this, and you know, obviously this is my favorite thing to do, and it's sad when I can't do it. So, but we'll manage. So.
Yeah, I'm very, very upset that this is ending. I feel like we hit a nice rhythm near the end, and then obviously I had some travels and stuff, and so we missed a couple episodes, and of course it was a couple of good weeks. But yeah, it's really sad, when um, when meets like this end. Obviously, the Sha Tin one goes forever. Some people feel the same way about Sarah.
Hey guys, Andrew Champagne here. Really excited about the card on Sunday at Sha Tin, and I hope you'll join me on the brand new North American simulcast feed. I'll have picks and analysis for every race on the program. Hope to see you there.
All right, this man has got to be stopped. All right, I'm sick and tired of him interrupting everything Sha Tin. All right, it's not just the damn simulcast feed. Now he's showing up on our damn podcast. What the hell is this? This is ridiculous.
You know, somehow that was the least intrusive he's had. That's less intrusive than the DRF overlay. Somehow, I don't understand that. But
I mean, let's talk about that briefly. And
can I just say that I had no idea that was coming? That scared the shit out of me.
Good. What's funny is about an hour ago, I messaged Andrew. I'm like, Andrew, I got an idea. I'm like, I need you to send me a video, and so. That was part of the reason why you messaged me to start. Hey, you were ready, and I was kind of like radio silent as I was waiting for him to send me this video. But shout out to Andrew for humoring us at that. But no, obviously, there's people aren't happy, right, with the new overlay and with the choice of when to show the handicapper picks and when to like overlay that and. Yeah,
which I'm assuming has nothing to do with him. To be
perfectly, absolutely not
fair, right? Like
and
he's just the face behind it, but like he's not the graphics guy.
No, they obviously they reached out and they wanted him to do handicapping stuff, and he's like, yeah, sure. And what's really funny is, he told me this is coming, and the first like couple weeks, like you couldn't find this stuff anywhere. So I didn't know what they were doing with it. I was like, what's going on? But then they were like, they introduced that new feed, and like I get, in some ways, like they're like, hey, let's Americanize this, but I feel like, okay, like show it a little bit, like and like I said, like I'm not talking about Andrew popping up in the middle of the thing or anything like that. I honestly like. I really don't pay attention to the feed much, other than to watch the race. I usually have it on mute. So, like, to me, it hasn't really been super noticeable. But, I've seen the screenshots and like, you'll peek over and, when you're used to having it as the entire screen and then now they got that DRF overlay and it's much smaller, especially if you're somebody who's like actually trying to, I don't know, look at the horses. And maybe you're trying to listen to what Jenny's saying, who I think is by far of the people on there is probably the only one that I pay any mind to. She's more on more than one occasion just mentioned, oh, this horse looks great, and sure enough, the horse runs off the screen. But yeah, like I especially get like if that's like your main thing and your main source. Now, obviously, some people are taking it a little far, and I think somebody even said that like that Andrew Champagne and DRF are hijacking the feed, and I'm like, all right, you could say DRF is hijacking it, but like Andrew's just recording the stuff, and what people do with it afterwards is just like, whatever. But he's actually in talking with him, he's passed along the feedback, and just thinking about like how long it took his stuff to actually even get put on there. My guess is hopefully for the start of the meet, if that does continue, that they'll get it figured out. But
Yeah, and I mean, look, a couple things, right? Like you said, I think it's tough because this circuit. I think when you pay attention to most circuits, you just sort of ignore the touts, or even probably beyond that, like use them to mock, right? When I think, I mean, I was going to bring up Naira, but I guess some of the Naira commentators are actually really good at their job. Like Maggie Wolfendale is, super good at what she does. But, some of the smaller circuits, right? Like you see those picks, and you're almost trying to fade them because you're like, if people are paying attention to these, then they're probably trying to mislead you, or that's what the public's on, right? You
yeah,
disrespect their opinion. And folks like Jenny Chapman and Tom Wood, who's the announcer, I mean, all of them, right, will give picks, and they're very forthcoming, right? If a horse doesn't look well, if a horse is, if anything looks wrong, or a horse is, bothered or sweaty, right, they'll tell you, right? And if a horse doesn't put in a good effort, they call it straight away. And I think people have come to be very accustomed to that. I mean, they're used to years and years of that broadcast. And if you have a very respected team and all of a sudden you have somebody sort of intruding on that, right? You saw what those feelings were immediately on that broadcast, right? There are people who do this full time. There's a reasons the pools are so large, and it's something that is kind of very ingrained. So yeah, I mean, I get that, when you put your name on something, or your name gets put on something, the immediate backlash is people don't like change. And, I don't disagree, right? The overlay is pretty intrusive. It could be a lot better. You have a lot of duplicated information. You have, his face cutting in on, certain parts of the broadcast, and I get why people are irked by that. Um, but obviously, A, none of that's his fault, and B, the second point, I think his picks have actually done really well, right?
yeah,
If you've looked at what he's done, I'm like, why am I doing this? Right? He should be on this because
yeah,
clearly I've invested a lot of time and effort and money into trying to do this, and he's the new face, and he's immediately better at it than I am. So that's concerning for me. But yeah, no, I mean, I hope they get it straightened out because I think he's an incredibly good handicapper. I think he's very personable and someone that this game needs. He's the type of person that this game should be marketing. And for a lot of the people that don't have the public's best interest in mind, I think he does. And that's a reason that I think he's on your podcast. That's a reason I think that he's probably chosen for this. So I hope they get the technical pieces of it straightened out because I do think that, you know, having someone with the bettor's best interests in mind will, even further solidify what I think is the best product going globally, and probably from what you've seen going on since you've been gone. Maybe the only product left in a couple of years because boy, there's been a lot of noise going on in a lot of the areas of U.S. racing for
yeah,
sure in the past 3-4 weeks.
yeah. It's been wild, and even like talking about Saratoga, like how quickly it kind of snuck up on us because of that 1 week that we had previously, and I know Andrew and I talked about it a little bit on our podcast, and yeah, it's we really need a good Saratoga meet. I think a good Del Mar meet to kind of get the bad taste out of everyone's mouth from last year, and hopefully we can get that and kind of move forward from that. But we horse racing can't stop getting in its own way, right? Even with when we had that great Belmont week, what happens right before Saratoga? That Naira kind of takes its ball and goes home with TVG, which is one of the biggest ADWs. Now, I'm not like I don't know the ins and outs. I saw the Horse Racing Nation article, right, and they talked about the different fees and all that stuff, and like the different betting companies and the different ADWs and all that. That's business. I don't understand, but the high level I got was, basically Nairo was getting screwed over in some ways with TVG, and in other ways, um, they I don't know. They basically just didn't feel like they were getting what they needed. Obviously, there was a little bit of a backlash there. TVG Naira, and then you have your TVG and Naira stands going back and forth on Twitter. All gets resolved. Everyone knew it was going to get resolved before the meet. You know, you can't have a meet start without. I think it's the second biggest ADW. I'm pretty sure Twin Spires is the biggest. But yeah, it was just you know you get that kind of stuff and really I think it ends up being the horse player that suffers through all that, you know. And you see all those fees and see all that, right? And everyone's fighting over the piece of the pie. The horsemen, you know, need their share. The track needs their share. The ADW needs their share, right? And you know, then it's like what's left over for the horse player, who's the one who's actually fronting their money for that portion, and yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how if the retail player ends up, you know, paying for any of this. You know, if our rebates go down or any of that other stuff happens. But you know, hopefully not. Hopefully not. Hopefully we have a good meet and all this is done and over with. You know, full disclosure, I mostly bet through Naira Bets, and you know Matthew DeSantis and is a very good friend of mine. I love everything he's doing for Naira and Naira Bets, and he's along with Andrew is one of the good people. He's one of the guys who, you know, is out there advocating for the horse player, and you know, hopefully we kind of move past like that kind of stuff. You know, we have a nice safe meet on top of that. You know, and we start to, I guess, build a little bit more momentum towards Breeders' Cup during this little pause we have in the Sha Tin meet. But I feel like we'll be okay, Matt, because worst case, right, we're gonna have Sha Tin, we're gonna have Hong Kong, and maybe they'll even get that third track going at some point. Because I think Chung Fa, right, they're eventually supposed to be racing there, possibly.
I think
But
so. It might be 2 years out or so, but yeah, I mean, a lot of opportunity, and I think even you see Andrew coming in, right? You that signals to me that they're trying to invest in this product, and we've talked for years about opening up more pools, right? I mean, you saw the double pool open up this year, so that's hopefully a sign of things to come. You mentioned rebates, right? I do think this is one of the places that doesn't have those things, right? And I think that's part of what makes this a good product in a way is, yeah, the takeout's pretty high, and yeah, you have a lot of late money. So it's funny because you kind of see when people talk and they say, "Hey, here's the problems with horse racing," and then you look into Hong Kong and you see things like late money coming in, right? There's always horses that get crushed down from 8 to 1 to 3 to 1, right? And people don't really seem to mind that for some reason. Nobody talks about late money here. You know, it, I think it's partially just because of the perceptions that hey, you still get prices. Late money can be wrong here, and I think you see that because the late money isn't necessarily rebate focused, right? It's not those CAWs that are just trying to churn and trying to gain efficiency in pools. Late money is people that think they're smart money, and they probably often are smart money, but when they're not smart money, that can flip the other way in your favor really often. And if you think you have a price and that late money doesn't see it, guess what? You're going to get paid. And I think some of the time here, you don't because it's not geared towards like, winning. It's geared towards efficiency, right? It's geared towards grinding and market focus. And I think even a lot of the conversations that have happened over the course of the past month, when you talk about like CHRB and things like that, you kind of hear that. You talk about, TVG and Naira, right? Everybody has to get their piece. And I think I've posted about it a bunch of times now. It's the greed that's going to take this game down. If everyone needs their piece and that piece needs to grow, the only losers, and they talk about people in retail players as losers, right? I mean, they call you losers. We have to be the losers in this situation because everybody else has to be winners to make this game sustainable. That's what it's been built on. And I think Hong Kong's benefit is it doesn't have that. It doesn't have everyone associated with that as retail. And maybe that changes, right? Maybe something comes in and starts offering rebates and that will be the downfall of it, just like it is here. But I think that's what you see, right? You see what happens when you have so many parties involved. And Hong Kong benefits because it's that insulated experience. Every aspect of it is controlled by the Hong Kong Jockey Club. You're not offering things like rebates. You're not having CAWs come in, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people are getting rebates, but I know I'm offered zero, where normally the takeout would indicate that I would get a certain percentage and things like that. But a domestic track, right? If I had a 24% takeout on a try, I probably get money back. In Hong Kong, I do not. So yeah, I think that's why, to me, right, I a couple years ago said, "Hey, this is why I'm going to invest in this," because I started to see how things were going, and not that I'm much better at it, not that, it's not that I'm profitable even here, right? I think I ran my numbers for this year, and we got off to a pretty bad start, and I don't think I've recovered from that. But not to the extent where I'm, hurting or anything like that. So it's fun, and I think this product is going to be one that has to be a model for racing domestically. But unfortunately, I think you see that going the other direction. So, yeah, I mean, I hope things change. I hope, to your point, that Saratoga gets past it and people fall in love with racing again, and the retail player comes back and sticks around. But they're making it hard. So,
Yeah. Yeah. But hey, on a lighter note, right? This is the last show of the season. Uh, I, I've thought of some ideas for us to continue to talk about racing during the break. So I'm sure we'll still be putting something out. But as celebration, I got probably one of my favorite. I don't know if it is my favorite, but definitely one of my favorite bottles of whiskey. It was actually sent to me by our friend Dave, Mr. Writer Dave from Discord, because I had a group ticket for Breeders' Cup that we hit on. Good old no balls. We ended up playing, I believe, the two pick fives, the main two pick fives in both days, and then we had like $200 or $300 left over. And I'm like, "Do you guys care if I play this turf pick four with the rest of it?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And no balls made sure that everybody got. I think we got 5-1 back on the entire investment just from the that one bet. So like if I would have invested everything into that, I mean we would have had box cars. It would have been nuts. But nice little saver ticket. So I have a bottle of Eagle Rare here. It's kind of blurry, and haven't opened it up yet. So gave myself a nice little pour of this, and then we'll talk a little Sha Tin. What are you drinking over there? I saw you sipping on something.
just a gin and tonic, right? When I hit summer, I start to go to the clear drinks, just because it's a little too hot and sweaty to do much else.
Yeah, like White
Uh,
Claws. You like a little White Claw?
Sometimes I just bought I bought a mixed pack of Topo Chico hard seltzers, and those
Okay.
are actually pretty good. I think White Claws usually give me a pretty heavy headache. So,
Well, I mean, they're still
what
like malt liquor, or they're still malt based. So
yeah, so I've been, I've cycled through a lot of brands to see, what lets me wake up without, regretting my decisions. So far, Topo Chico's been pretty good. And but yeah, gin and tonic for me for now. And,
so funny story is I only drink seltzers in one place and one place only. That's Las Vegas. And it's just because when you go down to like CVS or the ABC store or whatever, right? We always pick up a bunch of waters and stuff like that and bring it back to the room. And I'm like, well, I got to get a walking pop while I'm down here. And usually your options are okay. You can get a cut water, which are fine. They're not the best, but they're okay. Or you can get like a White Claw the size of your head, or a High Noon the size of your head as well. High Noons I tend to like, I think, a little bit better than the White Claw, but the White Claw's fine. Or the Modelo the size of your head. You got a couple different options there, but
you're not walking around with the frozen beverage like margarita on your neck or anything,
dude, my wife used to love those. And then just one day, so they would sell tumblers, and I'm sure we've talked about my wife's love of tumblers on some podcasts, but we have a tumbler collection here at the house. And so she had this like metal Fat Tuesdays tumbler, and she would bring it every trip, and she'd fill that sucker up, and we would just get fucked up on you know, extra floating extra shots on top of it. And then just one day, like she just stepped over the line. And after that, she's like, you know what? I don't think I'm ever going to drink one of those again. I'll occasionally get one, but I gotta say it's gotta been at least 2 years since I got one. But I'll get one every once in a while just to like I won't get the huge yard. I will get like, you know, like a 16 ounce, like the cheapest thing that they have in a plastic
Yeah, yeah,
cup,
yeah.
right? Like probably what is still probably entirely way too much sugar. And honestly, maybe I won't anymore with you know, with my health stuff going on. But yeah, and like I said, I talked a little bit about this on drinking champagne, but with this medication I'm on, dude, like I just having dinner, like having a big dinner when I was in Vegas, like I just like felt like I was so full like the entire freaking trip. Like I was just like overeating and just like and it's funny like thinking back, I'm like, man, I used to eat like 3 times this. Like I would eat this meal 3 times a day, and now it's like I eat it once and I feel disgusting. So it's modern medicine is just absolutely crazy. But yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll take a look here at this late pick three here, race 9, the Pingwu Spark Handicap. We're going to go 1,200 meters, 6 furlongs, Class 3 racing here, and you know, my top pick in this race is probably going to be one of the new shooters coming in here from Singapore, the 5 Silo. Now, this is a 3-year-old, won a Group 1 as a 2-year-old in France. And then at some point, they decided, hey, let's ship this bad boy over to Singapore. And you know, ran second, and then just rattled off 3 straight wins. And now obviously Singapore, a little bit lower class than France or Hong Kong, but you know this horse is coming in great form. Has been trialing really well. I believe won his last trial. So I think this horse is definitely coming in with a bit of intrigue here. Really like the horse, and you know, I'll be interested to see what the betting looks like on this horse. This horse also drawn on the rail here. So yeah, I'm just interested to see like are they going to bet this horse off the board? Are they going to ignore this horse because he's got no local starts? I'm not sure, but I'm definitely going to take a chance on this horse as my top pick. But I do have another A, and that's the 2 Reward Smile here. You get John Size and Hugh Bowman hooking up here, and this has been kind of a weird horse. You know, was up in Class 2 and just didn't really seem to run all that well there. They tried, you know, they had an all weather start in Class 3, and you know, just hasn't looked all that great the last couple starts. But if you know kind of go back to some of the back races, as I'm pulling up on the other screen here, I mean, if you go back like 4 or 5 actual races when this horse was on the turf at Happy Valley, I mean, those races absolutely fit in here, and does have a race in the past year that I think fits in here very well. So, you know, it's a little bit off form, but I like the change to Hugh Bowman. I like the fact that this horse is getting a better draw, is drawn into 3 post here. So I thought that Reward Smile here on the class drop was a very interesting play. And then the other horse I am gonna use is gonna be the 8 Bit Superstar, which is another shipper in here. This one is coming in from Australia, and this is another one who you know is coming in off of really good form. Obviously, you know has been off for a bit as the horse got transferred to Hong Kong, but another one that's been trialing very well. If this horse was not drawn in the 14 post, I might be a little bit more inclined to maybe press more heavily. But kind of being drawn in the parking lot, I think, is going to be tough for kind of a newcomer here. So I think it's probably good enough to win here, but I might have to wait and see. This might be one that you wait till the second one. This is, like I said, another one's been trialing well. I believe also won his last trial. So I'm going to be using those three. I'm going to be using the 2 and the 5 as A's, and then I'm going to use a lone B on this 8. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, I looked at that 8, and like you, I was intrigued, but ultimately tossed because the 14 post just I don't know, I couldn't do it. Even though I mean this is on the A course, right? It's fully inside, so I do think those draws matter a little bit less, right? If you're on the C+3 and you're way out and you get stranded, right, you're just losing inherently more ground. But when you're all the way in, it it still matters, but it doesn't matter as much. I probably went too chalky here, at least, right? I it's a race where none of these horses hit the board their last time out, right? I mean, none of them finished better than I think fourth, and you'd be struggling to find anyone who even finished in the top half of their races, right? And that's not a great look. This just isn't a good field, and so I hate to use Zach and say, hey, you have a horse moving up from class 4 that won at Happy Valley, and that's not ideal, right? Is that really going to translate over to Sha Tin? Is the horse really going to take to class 3 where it won a class 4 race and probably not a strong field? Maybe not, right? This probably goes off as your favorite. I still think it's the most likely winner. Packing Hermit, the race was impressive enough, right? The horse broke bad and still won very easily. I mean, that wasn't even it wasn't even asked, and it won by open lengths. So, given the weak field, I still think it's probably the goods, and I'll be using that as an A. The other horse that I liked here was the 11, an excellent fighter. Look, I'm surprised you didn't pick this horse
Hmm.
because really there's no pace in this race, right? I think, Speed Pro has the 7 on the lead. Maybe. I don't know. I just don't see it like all that much. And maybe that 8 actually goes. I think, there is something in my mind where, Karras has to send, especially from a wide draw, and just goes full bore and tries to get the lead. That could happen. And if that actually happens, I think that 8 gets much more competitive, and I think there's an opportunity there, but I'm not totally sure. But look, I mean, if you look at those 11's races, it hasn't drawn at Sha Tin inside the 10 post since October, right? It has a race at Happy Valley where it was in the 7 post, but December 13 post, February 10 post, 12 post, 12 post, 14 post. It's been way out there. And you've seen what happens with that, right? It was up in class 3 at 131 pounds. Now with Poon up on you get 2 pounds, it's racing at 115. And I think it can be on the lead or at least close. And to me, a lot of those back races fit. So if you've had a bad string of wide draws and you've had, and look, I mean, it's hard to say, hey, you're having a horse that's, you know, running 12th and 11th at first call be really close, but I do think the pace is that bad in here that it can at least be up on there. And I think I'll take a shot, right? I love seeing horses that kind of have that string of bad luck and then finally come back around to a reasonable draw. Obviously, the track and distance are what it favors, right? 9 of those races, every time it's hit the board, -1 has been at, at 1200. So I think I'll probably use that as an A. I don't think it's as likely to win as the 12, but price dependent. I think I have to, bump it up and use that. So I'll be using just those two. I think 11 and 12, and fading all the firsters and fading everyone else in this field.
Yeah, the 8's part of the reason I also did like the 8 a little bit. Like I said, it's drawn out in the absolute parking lot, but has shown speed in those starts at
Yeah.
in Australia. So hoping Karras uses that to his advantage and gets out of the gate and gets at least good position with the horse from all the way out there. But let's move on here. Race 10, the site winner handicap. We're going to be going the 1 turn mile here, 1,600 meters. We got what is this, class 3 racing once again, and we got a horse that I bet last time, and I got a little snake bit. I got a little snake bit, and I feel like I went to the wedding, and I might be going to the funeral, but Zach gets off, and I'm coming right back. The 7 Prey Premier here. You know, we often talk about these horses in Hong Kong not really being bred for distance. Obviously, this horse is Justify on top, so I don't think distance is a problem. I think this is one that might want to even go even further. So off that last race, you know, a little bit unlucky, finished second by a neck, and it's coming right back at the same weight somehow. So you know, you're getting a good draw. You're drawing the two posts here. I mean, bit of a jock downgrade going to Chadwick from Zach Purton, but you know, I'm going to go back to the well here on a horse I've bet before and the seven Pray for Mir. And then, you know, once I went there, I kind of had a hard time thinking where else I would go. I kind of I ended up on Fallon, the four horse here, and this was kind of a you know horse that's been in tougher spots, you know, in those restricted 3 year old and restricted 4 year old only races, and you know kind of came back down to class three, and I think you would have hoped that he would have had a couple of better runs there, but you know, he's kind of just gone down in weight, and I think now, you know, he's finally down at 125 here. I mean, he's 128, but with the bug is down to 125, and I just think he's got back races that look really good here. Now, I probably would have preferred if he was drawn a little bit more inside, but you know, the nine post will take it. In this case, so I'm just going to be using those two. I'm going to be using the four Fallon, and I'm going to be using the seven Pray for Mir. Where did you land?
Yeah, I actually like that seven. I wrote down that you bet it first out, and I think it was astronomical odds, and it
42 to 1, yeah.
kind of was a hard luck loser there. I mean, you know, that was a pretty impressive race, and I actually thought the last race was pretty impressive too. You know, kind of stayed on where other horses were really closing from the back. So this track may set up, and I think it has every right to keep moving forward. You don't like seeing Zach jump off, but at the same time, I think I was trying to get around this three, just because I think if it starts Zach, then you're not going to get a payout in this at all. So to me, this was a leg that I didn't want to use him in. The other horses I used kind of, you know, they all raced against each other last out, and it's hard to make a case for any of them because maybe that race just wasn't that good. But I had a hard time going elsewhere in here. So a couple of the other horses I like. I like the nine satirical fan. You know me, I'm a sucker for a bug hopping up, and especially if that horse has speed. You know, Ellis Wong hopping up. If that horse has been running, you know, getting the lead, and now gets a free 7 pounds. You know, it's maintaining weight, but getting 7 pounds off. Hey, to me, that's always a go. So you know, I think the other speed in here is Ariel, and that horse is 1 for 27 lifetime. So,
Hmm.
you know, to me, I think, hey, speed is probably good in here, and that's the one I'd want to go to. So I like that. I like the six Bright Inheritance too. I thought, you know, that horse has really closed into some slow paces. And what kind of encouraged me last time was if you look, that horse has been sitting dead last every single race until the last one. It showed a little bit more ability to get into the pace of the race, whether that was Bentley getting it, you know, in versus Chadwick. Uh, Maybe we'll see, but to me, that at least showed a little bit where the horse was doing something beyond just sitting dead last in a field and closing in. So that gave me some encouragement that maybe this horse is on the improve. And you know, because of that and because of the slow paces, I think I wanted to use those two as A's. So I'd be 6-9 as A's, and then the seven as a B. The only other horse, and I don't know what happened last out. It was such a bad race for the eight, the air. Eh, That horse's back races are way better than the rest of this field. I don't know if it just gets closed off last race. It says it got blocked. It kind of did, but on the other hand, you know, it kind of just gets a little bit closed off in the straight and then packs it in. It's never good to see a horse get closed off in the straight like that because it really didn't have any excuse for doing so. I don't know. It is third up off a layoff, right? The first race back from the layoff was actually pretty good. So I think I'd want to use that as a B just in case that was an anomaly. I do think that's one of those horses that race last out looks so bad that you may get a great price. And if that horse, hey, just maybe had a bad day, you'll get, you'll get enough here to warrant using it as a B. So, I was the 6-9 as A's and the 7-8 as B's in here. Probably a little bit wide, but like I said, I think if you can get around a favorite in this race, that's probably the way to make this sequence pay a little bit of money. So
Yeah. Interestingly, when I looked at Speed Pro, they didn't really like the three much. They thought that there was a bit of regression in the three coming as the distance kind of got added. So I thought that was interesting. I think that this might be a fake Purton. So I hope that horse takes money. But I don't know. I don't know what your figs show if they show those races as better. But Speed Pro hated them.
it's hard because I feel like anytime, and that last race was on some soft ground, and I feel like when you get soft ground, you just get some wonky. At least in my calculations, you get some really wonky figs because you get
Hmm.
it kind of swings both directions, right? You get some really slow races and you get some really fast races. So I hate to say I kind of disregard them, but since I don't go back and like adjust, right, I'm not doing the Craig Milkowski thing of saying, oh, manually time this or manually go
Hmm.
off and think what it is, right? I'm just kind of pulling it and then taking stabs at it, which is probably why I'm not that profitable. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to gauge. I've been burned both ways on that before, saying, hey, this fig looks fake, I'm not going to use that, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, guess what? It actually is running off the page. So oh well. But
All right, race 11 here, the All You Wish handicap, unicorn distance, 7 furlongs, Class 3 racing. And yeah, I'll let you take first crack at this one. Where did you land here, Matt?
yeah, I think I've said it before, right? I love Pachytheta. Pachytheta is a really good horse. That's definitely a class 2 horse to me, and I think that horse is probably just better than these. I mean, interestingly enough, Beauty Fit, the 3 beat the horse that Pachytheta was dueling with that other race. So Sunlight Power ran back, and Beauty Crescent actually beat Sunlight Power um, Beauty Fit beat Sunlight Power 2 races ago. I forget, but yeah, I mean, there's some shared races there where they've been bouncing around. But anyway, I think Beauty Fit kind of moved up in weight because of that, and probably will come back to earth because of what it was doing there. So I think Passive Theta is probably the best horse in this race. I do think it's going to go off as your favorite. Um, and I don't think you can really get around that horse, and I'll be using that as an A because I do just think there's a lot of ability there. And like I said, I think that and Sunlight Power are probably pretty good Class 2 horses, and just will dominate anyone in Class 3 going forward. The other horse I wanted to use was the 8 Giddy Up. Um, it's a replay that you should watch, right? And probably it's one of those replays that everyone's going to watch, right? I mean, the notes kind of suggested what happened there, but it might be a little bit worse than what's suggested. That horse was closing just as well as King Miles and just as well as the Wanabe, and those are again some pretty strong horses in there. If you read those short notes, it says blocked. I mean, it gets checked. And actually, I think Vincent Ho, who was on King Miles, took a pretty significant fine. He had a choice of either taking a suspension or a fine because of blocking the horse. And eh, whether or not that was actually caused by King Miles, I don't know. If you look at that in the US, I don't think they do anything because I do think, you know, Giddy Up probably just ran into the horse or tried to fit through a hole that wasn't there. But hey, welcome to Hong Kong where they fine you every time there's anything that
Hmm.
happens, any, potential incident, right? You're catching a fine or a suspension.
It's for the
So
children. That's fine. It's for the children.
yeah, exactly, right? It's that soccer stadium that's sitting in the middle of of whatever, right? So um yeah, but regardless, right? I mean, it's odd because that horse kind of gets 2 pounds off of finishing fourth against a really, really good field in a race that it had every chance to win. So look, I mean, it obviously had a good draw last time. It has a great draw this time, and it's got the rail. Uh, there's no reason it can't be right there again. And so I think I'll just use those two as A's, to be honest with you. I think those horses probably just stand head and shoulders above the rest of the field. So I'll just be 1-8. And, those are probably going to go off pretty short, but that's just where I think this race goes. And no one else in this field really interests me all that much.
Yeah, no, the 8 Giddy Up is one of my A's. I have 2 A's and I have 2 kind of B's written down. Probably horses I'll end up using just so I make sure I cash the last pick 3 of the meet. But yeah, same reasons you did. I mean, horse had some trouble, is getting the dream draw once again, and is going down in weight after that great race. So, maybe just a little bit more help in the eight's favor there. My other A, it's the 13, Sentanta. And you get your favorite jock, Lyle Hewitt's, in the board here. And this is one that is moving up in class from Class 4, but and Class 4 from Happy Valley and shipping over here. But, these horses always intrigue me, right? This is a horse that's coming in off great form, going a little bit longer, is coming in a cutback, is drawn really well, is losing 12 pounds. I mean, I feel like there's a lot kind of going for this horse. And, I guess you get a little bit worried that this horse is, 1 for 19 at Sha Tin at this distance. Does have 2 seconds and a fourth. But yeah, I don't know. I think that this horse, moving up in class here, is a little bit interesting. I do think, to your point, I think the 2 high weights in here, the 1 Patch of Theta as well as the 2 Beauty Crescent, both look really good in this spot. I think Patch of Theta probably a little bit better, but the 2 Beauty Crescent, is a horse that's been improving a little bit here, and last time out just missed by a head to Ruby Lot. Does gain some weight off that, but also gets Zach Purton aboard now, and maybe that's the last thing that this horse needed to kind of get over the hump there a little bit. And I think with the fact that this 1 Patch of Theta has taken money in all his starts, and I mean, rightfully so as well. I mean, I think has been obviously a very strong favorite for, and I think maybe you get a somewhat decent price on this too, and maybe the 2 can, you're gonna see Zach Purton win at like 4-1 and be like, why did I not bet this horse? Like, I don't understand. Speed Pro likes the last couple of races, and yeah, I just think with Zach aboard, a horse that's got some tactical speed, and is drawn outside, but I don't think is going to be much of a problem for Zach to work out a trip there. So I have the 1 and 2s kind of B's in this spot, and then I'm going to be using the 8 Giddy Up, which you talked about as well, and then the 13 Setanta, and seeing if we can maybe get a little bit of an upset here in this last race. Although I'm very surprised you didn't look at the 13 at all, because I know you love yourself some low weight, and
trust me, I did. I don't know. I convinced myself that was a Happy Valley horse. Like you said, I saw the 1 for 19 at Sha Tin, and I mean, I love Lyle Hewson. They're all great. I love every jockey, but yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for us here on You've Got to Be Sha Tinning Me. Obviously, check us out at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank at Twitter. Matt Carlson will be at Slow and Studied. And this man wakes up at 2 o'clock in the morning anyway, so I'm sure he'll have his full analysis and picks and stuff up on his Twitter, so make sure you check that out. Don't know exactly what we're going to do, but I don't think we're going to take the next 2 months off. We'll probably do some Saratoga stuff or Del Mar or something. I don't know. Maybe we'll look at Australia. Who knows? We'll figure it out.
Downs,
Emerald Downs
racing.
Yeah. Maybe some of us are watching Emerald Downs right now. I don't know.
Maybe we are.
Have a good one, guys. Good luck.